to medieval England with The Hour of the Fox by Cassandra Clark. I listened to this book. It was put out by Highbridge Audio on June 2nd, and it was narrated by Matthew Lloyd Davies. This is the first of the Brother Chandler mystery series, and it begins with Brother Roderick Chandler questioning a man who's on the rack, which is an infamous form of torture where a man's limbs are slowly stretched out of their sockets.
Ooh,
yeah.
fun times.
Considering this opening salvo, I would characterize Brother Chandler as somewhat of an anti-hero. After a young novice nun is found floating in the Dowgate sluice with her throat cut, the city coroner, Dr. Sir Arnold Archer, asks his friend Brother Chandler to help him investigate. All their attempts to locate her murderer are met with obstruction and outright warnings to cease investigating. Meanwhile, all of London is abuzz with rumors that Henry Bolingbroke, cousin to King Richard II and future King Henry IV, is sailing home early from his exile in France in order to usurp the throne. Amidst the intrigue and treachery of Henry's seizure of throne of England in 1399, Chandler is revealed to be a secret spy in the employ of Henry, albeit a reluctant one. We are afforded glimpses into Chandler's self-doubt and remorse at the role he feels forced to play. His divided loyalties are on display as he continues to investigate the novice's death and other redemptive actions, and yet in other circumstances he performs slyly and deliberately only in order to please his masters. He's kind of a hard nut to crack. He's not your typical mystery solver, I would say. The Hour of the Fox is rife with the sights, sounds, and even smells of medieval London. Cassandra Clark's prose gives the reader a sense of doom throughout, as rumors of Henry's movements are shared amongst merchants, servants, and elites alike, and uncertainty abounds. She weaves all the historical players into the narrative, describing the plot as it truly unfolded, also throwing Geoffrey Chaucer into the mix. I think that was just for fun. Sprinkled also throughout the novel are bits of the flavor of the culture of the time, such as the study of alchemy and the persecution of heretics. The mystery of the novice's murder seems like an afterthought sometimes, with the background of political intrigue taking the center stage. As this is the first in the series, I kind of suspect that Cassandra is setting the stage in this book by introducing the characters and describing the tumultuous times before focusing on future mysteries. As her chronicling of history is superb and her writing is elegant, I will be looking forward to her next installment in the series. Cassandra Clark's imagination was ignited when she lived in a medieval village as a small child. She went on to gain her MA from the University of East Anglia and set about teaching diverse courses such as history, philosophy, music, and religion. She has written many plays and contemporary romances, as well as the libretti for several chamber operas. She is the author of the Abbess of Moe mystery series and lives in London. Her website is cassandraclark.co.uk. I highly recommend this series if you're at all interested in medieval English history.
I love the Brother Cadfael. Sounds interesting.
Yes, you do have to kind of keep a scorecard with all the dukes and the marshals and the earls and who was on whose side and who's on first.
Are you a Catholic? Are you a Protestant?
That didn't come up.
It didn't?
No, didn't seem to play out in this. Who you backed was definitely very important because your head could wind up on a pike because of it.
My next book is The King's Justice by Susan Elia McNeill, who is a friend of the show. I've been a fan of this series since Mr. Churchill's secretary.
Me too.
The author does a wonderful job of giving you an idea of life in the wartime over in Britain. The lack of food, the having to ration your food. You had to have blackout curtains. Women had to draw lines up the back of their legs to show the seams of stockings. They couldn't afford stockings. Nylon was being used for the war effort. There were just so many things that you had to do without through this whole series. The series takes place in the late 30s and 1940s. Maggie Hope is an American who has come to England, and she's kind of stuck there. She came over to stay with her aunt because her father was missing and her mother was married to a German. She becomes Winston Churchill's secretary in the first book, and then as the series progressed, she went into the Secret Service. She became a spy, and she became a security person for Princess Elizabeth. Every series, she's a little different job. In The King's Justice, Maggie is in a dark place. She has been treated horribly by her comrades in the Secret Service. She was kept prisoner for a while on a Scottish island. She is drinking heavily. She's back in London. She's trying to put her life together. Her fiance has gone off to Hollywood. She's just in a horrible place. She decides she's going to become a explosives expert. She's going to go around London and detonate unexploded bombs.
Wow. Is she doing this while she's drinking?
Yes, she is.
That's not good.
The other thing Maggie is doing is she's riding a motorcycle at high speed all over. She's just
Off the rails.
off the rails. She's just not the old Maggie that we knew and loved. She's put away a serial killer, so she's kind of at loose ends. Somebody has a Stradivarius violin stolen, and Maggie gets back into the game. It's a very good series. It really shows a lot of the true things that went along during the Blitz. She's living in an apartment that has a hole in the roof because bombs that came down. It must have been a terrifying time to live in London. And, of course, there's another batch of murders in the book. This whole series is one of my favorites. I look forward to the next Maggie Hope. Susan is the author, and she graduated from Narden Academy in Buffalo, New York, and Wellesley College. Her first job was as assistant to the author John Irving in Vermont. She then became an editorial assistant at Random House. She is married to a Muppeteer and television personality. We learned that the last time we talked. Number 10 in the Maggie Hope series is going to be called The Hollywood Spy, and that will come out early in 2021.
So I guess she's upping the pond.
Yes. Her website is www.susaneliammcneil.com.
Very good. We are big fans of Susan and her books.
Yes.
Definitely.
My next book is The Cabinets of Barnaby, Maine. And this book truly ticked off all the boxes for me. And you'll understand why when I tell you. First off, it was a historical mystery, which fit within the realm of us doing our little roundup here. It's surrounded by scientific discoveries and collections. And best of all, the protagonist is the lover of plants.
Oh, my
God.
So when I read that, I knew this was the book for me.
Our listeners don't know, but
I'm a little obsessed with houseplants.
we fight our way through the house with a machete.
My husband swears I'm turning the house into a jungle. It was the year 1703. Sir Barnaby Maine was a collector of stones, bones, books, and all kinds of artifacts. People would vie for invitations to come see his collections. Our protagonist, Cecily Kay, has a passion for plants, and she is looking forward to examining Maine's cabinets of wonder to see if she can identify some of her collection. She arrives at the host's house, and within a few hours he is found stabbed to death. Her curious nature naturally spurs on a quest to find out who the killer is. At first, this mystery seemed pretty wrapped up. Maine's curator, Dinley, was found at the scene, knife in hand, and he confessed. End of story, right? I think not. Luckily, Cecily runs into an old friend, Meekin, a girl that she grew up with, worked as an illustrator for Maine's collection. They band together to try to solve the mystery. Along the way, they start to question whether they can trust each other. They were both staying at the Maine estate at the time. I would classify this as an excellent Christie-style mystery depicting the Queen Anne era. I really am hoping that they develop this into a series. I could not find information that states whether this will be a series or a standalone. I think we need more historical mysteries with strong female leads. Between Cecily and Meekin working together, I think this would develop into quite a series. Elsa Hart, the author, is the daughter of a journalist. Elsa was born in Rome and spent much of her childhood abroad, attending international schools in Moscow and Prague. She is drawn to stories about travelers through history and likes to put her own characters in places that are unfamiliar to them. Her first 3 mysteries, following the exploits of crime-solving librarian in 18th century China, and her website is elsahart.com, ELSAHART.com. After hearing about the librarian in China, I'm going to definitely be checking out that series, and I think there's 4 books in that series.
That means out of 6 books, 4 of them have female protagonists.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty good.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have. We are very fond of finding new books. Historical mysteries are one of our favorite categories. And to be honest, historical can be anywhere.
The 60s.
Yeah. In this day and age, the 1990s is kind of historical.
Crazy? Yeah. Well, as we talked to our interviewer today, he said 20 years ago is
30 years ago.
A hysterical.
Hysterical?
Historical.
There is such a plethora of books that you can read in the historical category. So it's really interesting to find out what my co-hosts have chosen, and it's just such a fun topic for us. And we plan on having similar episodes with a theme in the future. We're going to hit true crime. We're going to hit... So if you enjoy these type of episodes, drop us a line. Well, you can drop us a line if you don't enjoy these episodes. But
if you have an idea for a theme, let us know. So.
We will even challenge ourselves to read things like romantic suspense, which I'm not saying there's not good ones out there. There are. It's just not my go-to.
Right.
If you want to give us some ideas or give a review of a book that might hit one of these topics, drop us a line at darkandstormybookclub@gmail.com.
And our website is www.darkstormybc.com.
And also, don't forget, we are looking for short stories for our newsletter.
We are in desperate need.
We are in desperate need, and it's funny because we really love these short stories.
And our fans do, too.
And publishers, I'm sure, are just waiting for these.
We have quite a few publishers that subscribe to our newsletter.
So throw one our way.
Make this your first publication. It's a start. It's time for trivia. Last week's question was, P.D. James was the creator of the Adam Dalgliesh mystery series. What does P.D. stand for? A. Paula Diane. B. Pamela Dalgliesh. C. Phyllis Dorothy. Or D. P.D., just initials, no name. The answer is Phyllis Dorothy James was also known as Baroness James of Holland Park. This week's question: which mystery author wrote her series as a report for work done as an insurance investigator? A. Patricia Cornwell. B. Ruth Rendell. C. Janet Ivanovich, or D. Sue Grafton.
Good luck. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode, and we hope you join us next week.
And remember,
Life would be boring without a little mystery.
bye.